Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Fluctus Channel. The U-2 Dragon Lady is one of the most important spy planes ever commissioned by the U.S. Air Force. Despite making its debut all the way back in 1955, this Cold War reconnaissance jet remains integral to the United States information-gathering efforts. Due to the nature of its mission, there are a lot of features built into the U-2 which make it exceedingly unique.
In order for the U-2 to execute their mission, their reconnaissance mission, and get that information, they have to be at a almost space level altitude, around 70,000, 60,000 feet.
This forced engineers to design an incredibly light body capable of standing up to the rigors of high-altitude flying. Because of these weight-cutting measures, the U-2 has earned a reputation for being extremely difficult to fly. This is not helped by the fact that the plane has only a semi-pressurized cabin, which forces all pilots to wear a pressure suit during operation. Watching the U-2 undergo maintenance, one quickly realizes just how extraordinary this aircraft truly is. Its design isn't just unique, it's deliberate. The long, tubular fuselage can actually be separated just behind the wings, allowing technicians direct access to the engine and its surrounding systems. It's a feature that speaks volumes about the U-2's purpose-built nature. Everything about this aircraft is focused on one mission: flying higher and longer than anything else in the sky. To do that, the airframe had to be kept as light as possible. That meant systems had to be simple, accessible, and efficient. Inside, the U-2 is powered by a single General Electric F118-101 turbojet, generating roughly 17,000 pounds of thrust. It gives the aircraft a powerful climb, but make no mistake, the U-2 isn't about speed. With a top speed of just 470 miles per hour, it's slow by military jet standards. But that was never the point. Altitude, endurance, and the ability to quietly gather intelligence from the edge of space, that's where the U-2 truly excels. Any aircraft that has remained in service for over 70 years will naturally demand meticulous upkeep, but the U-2 is no ordinary aircraft. Built to operate at the edge of the atmosphere, it routinely faces conditions that most aircraft never encounter. Its components are exposed to intense cold, persistent icing, and stressors unique to high-altitude flight. Adding to the complexity, the U-2 is filled with systems and components that exist only on this platform, making its maintenance unlike anything ground crews typically deal with. To meet these challenges, the U.S. Air Force has adopted a highly specialized approach. Every system on the U-2 has a dedicated maintenance team.
I think it says the VNAS 140. You just double check for me. 140? Yeah.
Experts trained exclusively on their assigned component.
It's a very simple jet to get to know. It's once you get really into depth with it, it gets complex. But you're working with the same systems day in, day out. You'll be swapping out a lot of stuff here and there. But once you get to know all the components, it's like clockwork.
These crews work in carefully scheduled shifts, minimizing overlap and distractions. This ensures that each technician can focus without interference, and that the tight confines around the 63-foot airframe don't become overcrowded. The U.S. Air Force has many unsung heroes, but the aircrew flight equipment technicians have one of the most important behind-the-scenes jobs. These men and women are responsible for inspecting and maintaining all the gear a pilot might wear daily. This includes their helmet, parachute, and anything else they rely on to ensure they can perform their jobs safely, no matter the conditions they might encounter.
You guys can go.
AFE techs also ensure the pilots are equipped with survival equipment like life rafts and life preserves, which they'll need in case of an ejection.
There it goes.
These men and women physically prepare and pack the parachutes worn by pilots and radar operators every day. When dealing with a full spacesuit rig, like the one worn by U-2 pilots, the aircrew flight equipment tech's job becomes infinitely more complex. As previously mentioned, the Dragon Lady has a partially pressurized cabin. The reason U-2 pilots wear the pressure suit is to ensure that they travel in a physiologically deficient zone above 12,000 foot without experiencing decompression sickness. Even so, pilots need to be aware of and prepared to deal with the symptoms of hypoxia. This is when the body does not have enough O2 to maintain homeostasis. It can result in heart rate problems, confusion, and other medical situations that could be catastrophic at high altitudes. To experience these symptoms in a controlled environment, pilots undergo training in a hypoxia simulation chamber. The O2 and pressure level of this chamber can be altered, allowing pilots to feel the symptoms of hypoxia in a safe, controlled environment. The Air Force hopes they will help them recognize and deal with the condition should it arise during flight. When a U-2 pilot prepares for a mission, they need to undergo several procedures not common in other flight prep. Simply donning the suit itself takes assistance from several technicians.
Greasing the zipper.
Yeah.
The suit and helmet are fully contained and will be partially pressurized throughout the flight. Before being placed in the cockpit, pilots must spend roughly 1 hour breathing 100% oxygen while under very close supervision. This process removes nitrogen from the blood. Pilots must carry a portable oxygen supply when it comes time to get on the plane. This allows them to breathe comfortably until they can be hooked up to the oxygen supply inside the aircraft. The U-2 takeoff and landing process is equally unique. Indeed, it is much more of a launch than a takeoff in that it requires the assistance of dozens of people working towards the same goal. For one thing, the cockpit is incredibly cramped, and the pilot's helmet and flight suit make it very difficult for them to get a full view. During takeoff, they will receive information from a series of guide cars that follow them down the runway, warning of potential problems and explaining current conditions. As the plane is difficult to handle, very light, and has a substantial lift, the pilot needs to fully concentrate on getting the plane airborne safely. Another major challenge, apparent during landing, is the U-2's landing gear. Since its wings are 40 feet longer than the fuselage, they need support as well. When the U-2 Dragon Lady comes in for a landing, all of the problems experienced during takeoff are compounded. Not only does the pilot suffer from poor visibility, but they need to bring the massive aircraft down safely on just 2 centrally aligned wheels. This led engineers to attach temporary wheels called pogos on either side. These provide stability during launch but fall off directly after takeoff. Early on in the U-2 program, the Air Force began to collaborate with NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. It was NASA that helped develop the technology that allows pilots to operate while reaching extremely high altitudes safely. However, NASA has also invested in its own U-2 spy plane, which has since been designated the ER-2 or Earth Resources Aircraft. The mission of the ER-2 is to provide civilian research of all kinds. This includes mapping Earth resources, celestial observations, ocean processes, and analyzing atmospheric chemistry. Over the years, the aircraft has been used to photograph shuttle launches and helped map wildfires over the West Coast. Despite being in service for nearly 70 years, the U-2 and its ER-2 variant remain among the most important aircraft in the United States arsenal. Whether documenting activity by hostile foreign powers or helping to document our changing world, this high-flying aircraft still has work to do. That's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of our new content. See you next time.